officially welcome. Great expression session, everyone. So we go now into our teaching. So we'll look at our email for today. Daily quote there. Some teaching on forgiveness, which is perfect. Today's given we've just talked about dealing with pain and suffering, and that will lead us nicely into the insert on what is a miracle, and there's a lesson as well. So yeah, all good. So let me just share my screen with you. Okay, so and there. All right. So anyone can read that. The headline quote from C. Joy Bell C, is that name? So pen name, obviously. But interesting lady. She's wrote some good stuff. So Lane, John, anyone, either of you read that?
Yeah. The day I understand everything was the day I stopped trying to figure everything out. The day I knew peace was the day I let everything go.
Very simple quote, but very profound. The day I knew peace was the day I let everything go. So that's really, she's just expressing the course's key idea here. I need to just let go of everything, all of my mental, emotional, psychological attachments to anyone and anything in this world, and that's when I find peace. So this is clearly inspired by the Holy Spirit, this particular quote. She states the relationship between letting go of our own understanding of life and peace of mind very clearly. So the workbook lessons and text, and the whole course, in fact, are designed to bring about just this undoing your own, in other words, your separate selves or ego's understanding of everything. So you can open your mind to the Holy Spirit's, or the remembrance of perfect law's reinterpretation of everything you think you understand. So when you let go of everything you think you understand, what remains must have been the truth, must be the truth. And this process, Yeshua calls forgiveness, and Course in Miracles we call letting go. In alternative language, will inevitably help you feel more peaceful. That's the benefit of it. If you're not feeling more peaceful, then you haven't truly let go. Yeshua said at some point, by their fruits ye shall know them. So if you're experiencing peace, then you must have truly let go, because peace only comes from letting go. But be sure that you are truly forgiven or letting go, which means that you're not trying to pardon sins that you think are real, but merely recognizing their unreality from the start. As Yeshua explains in this passage from section 6 of chapter 30 of the text, entitled Justification for Forgiveness. So, yeah, John, if you could read that. Pardon is always justified.
Yeah, pardon is always justified. It has a sure foundation. You do not let go of what is impossible to let go of, nor overlook a real attack that calls for punishment. Awakening does not lie in being asked to make unnatural responses that are inappropriate to what is real. Instead, it merely asks that you respond appropriately to what is not real by not perceiving what has not occurred.
So he's talking about pardon being always justified, Because what you're pardoning is unreal, so it hasn't really happened. Therefore, you need only recognize the unreality of all error to practice radical forgiveness or letting go, which simply overlooks all apparent sins that it sees as ephemeral errors that don't really exist. So the only way of really handling error correctly is to see it as unreal. So radical forgiveness helps you correctly perceive that there's really nothing to forgive because it was never real in the first place. Restores your mind to an awareness of its true nature as unconditional love, which by definition doesn't acknowledge any conditions for love to occur. That's why it's called unconditional. So love is just love is simply present. It's always there. There are no conditions for it. But the ego's plan for forgiveness, on the other hand, always makes errors real and permanent in your perception, which is the definition of sin. And it means that the errors cannot be overlooked if they're real. And that in turn leads to the ego's perception that completely pardoning someone's plainly visible sins is impossible self-perception, and the options that it offers instead of radical forgiveness, because it's always got an alternative plan to the Holy Spirit, but it won't work. So it says, well, just pretend to forgive the person. If you believe you're the pious person who's in the right, you self-righteously pardon this, quote, sinner, because that's what a, quote, good person should do. And there's many Christians, usually, because forgiveness is a Christian teaching, who will do that. They will go, I'm very forgiving, but actually they're judging the person as some kind of sinner, going, well, I forgive you, even though you're going to burn in hell for your sins. You might have come across this. I have. It's bizarre. No, I'll pray for you, evil sinner. No, I'll pray for your soul, even though you're going to burn in hell if you don't repent. Great. Okay. So in other words, I've got to do what you and your wrathful God want me to do, or punishment will be I burn in hell forever. It's not a particularly nice thought system, and it has nothing to do with true forgiveness, because there's no real letting go then. Sin is very much part of that thought system, and you see that. And he calls it actually forgiveness to destroy. We've just done that. There's a section which we'll have a look at as our reading today in the Song of Prayer called Forgiveness to Destroy. So it's the forgiveness that actually destroys our peace, that is designed to destroy perfect love. And this is so-called forgiveness, but it's not forgiveness at all. It's false forgiveness, pseudo-forgiveness. So that's pretty straightforward. It doesn't take too much to see that that's false. But then you got the second component, which is a compassionate or mock forgiveness, which is to try and understand that the person did the best they could given their state of consciousness at the time, and you try very hard not to judge them for their mistake. So it's kind of an acknowledgement that, okay, yes, they've really done it, but I try and understand why they did it, and therefore I soften my judgment. So the idea of sin and guilt isn't as egregious as in the first one, but it's still there. So both these approaches miss the mark of radical forgiveness for different reasons, which I'll unpack. So they won't work you to free you from all suffering. The first approach, I call pseudo-forgiveness. Yeshua calls forgiveness to destroy in the Song of Prayer we just read, because it's really judgment and condemnation masquerading as forgiveness, designed to reinforce the separate and superior identity of the person bestowing the forgiveness without any genuine intent on his or her part to let go of the judgment and condemnation. So it's not really forgiveness at all, which always entails a letting go of the negative thought and emotion in the mind of the person forgiving, but it's judgmental condemnation from disgust. Because healing happens through the unification of seemingly separate minds, pseudo-forgiveness therefore can't ever heal anyone. You remain separate from that person in your perception, they remain separate from you, because it reinforces the ego's separate identity in the minds of both the person pseudo-forgiving and the person on whom the pseudo-forgiveness is bestowed. Because the imagined superiority of the person pseudo-forgiving over the, quote, sinner will be strengthened in their mind, while the, quote, sinner will sense that they're already being condemned by the other person and will usually react to the pseudo-forgiving person based on their supposed guilt in a defensive, angry, or fearful way, or all of the above, which strengthens their false self-concept of being a guilty sinner and sense of being separate from the pseudo-forgiver. So both think that they're separate, there's no unification, and in separation is just sickness and death. So no real healing at all. That destroys their peace of mind, their happiness, any love between them, which is why Yeshua calls it forgiveness to destroy. It actually destroys that which forgiveness is designed to restore to your mind. So it's not forgiveness at all. So it's pretty clear to see that that's really false, and you can accept from the above explanation of pseudo-forgiveness is false. It's never going to work to free anyone's mind from sin and guilt. But you may not be so convinced about the second type of forgiveness the ego engages in, which I call compassionate forgiveness or mock forgiveness. You might go, well, what's wrong with compassion? That's one of the qualities that they teach in Buddhism. Compassion, kindness, love. What's wrong with that? Surely this is a spiritual quality and one we should try to cultivate. And this is where the ego, which remember is just your own belief in separation, gets really pretty devious and cunning, because on the surface of it, this seems to be perfectly reasonable. But if you're just willing to scratch a little bit below that shiny surface of this thin veneer, then you'll see that beneath it lies the same rusted core of a thought system that characterizes all egoic beliefs. Okay, how so? Let's look at it. Because compassionate forgiveness still assumes that whatever seemingly happened to upset you has really happened. And now its negative effects in your mind must be mitigated by trying to understand why the other person did what they apparently did, which assumes that he or she really did do it and makes the situation the characters participating in real to you. So you will then still have a sense of being a separate person living in a hostile world, trying and struggling to forgive what is seemingly unforgivable. That's the price you pay for making it real. Even though you as a compassionate forgiver are trying to lessen the negative impact of the seeming offense in your mind, which is a step in the right direction, if you still believe the offense was really committed, then the world and your separate identity operating in it remain real to you. And that's why compassionate forgiveness doesn't work. So it's really a halfway house. It's better than pseudo-forgiveness. So halfway there, but it's not the true or radical forgiveness that Yeshua teaches in A Course in Miracles, which he summarizes beautifully in today's quote, that we must just pardon and we must overlook all error. Will not take you all the way home to the transcendent dimension of reality. Yeshua calls the kingdom of heaven, because it still makes the world and the sense of separate self, that is the ego, real in your mind. Whereas radical forgiveness, on the other hand, gets to the root of the problem. Radix, the Latin word from which the word radical is derived, means root, by somebody denying that anything other than unconditional love is real. And so the whole problem is this false belief in separation. That's the root of the problem. Therefore, if any word, action, or behavior that's seemingly said or done is unloving, it's simply unreal. It has no existence or effects. That's the simple logic of the Holy Spirit. It cancels out all errors and helps you recognize that you and the seemingly other person you're forgiving are not and never have been separate. They never were a separate person, neither were you. So you're really just letting go of a delusion. So only radical forgiveness, with the help of the Holy Spirit, remember, is just remembrance of perfect unconditional love, will return your mind to a state of unconditional love, in which you realize that you and everyone and everything else that seems to have a separate form in this world are really one and the same pure formless awareness of perfect love. So when you truly forgive or let go, you restore your mind to that place of oneness, and you get it. Yes, I am one awareness. This person is nothing separate from me. They're not a separate person. They are the same pure formless awareness of perfect love as me, as I have. And that is the outcome of true radical forgiveness, the understanding, the deep understanding that you are one, and that therefore all the separation in your mind is gone. So the separate self is gone. So is that clear? We can discuss it. Any questions or comments on those three levels of forgiveness and how they work, how they operate, why the first two don't really work, why radical forgiveness is the only way, therefore why this course is the only real way to peace, because it teaches you to radically forgive or let go of everything.
I think that radical forgiveness is very interesting in the sense of, for myself, thinking about old hurts. When you use the radical forgiveness, it is a letting go process. It does work, and I can tell it works because I can see the person in a different way afterwards.
Yeah, and you feel different.
Yeah,
Different.
yeah.
So that's how you tell whether you've really done it. If there's still negativity, you haven't radically forgiven. So there's more work to do. Radical forgiveness just says none of it really happened. You're just in an insane dream. The dream isn't real. The dream never happened. So these thoughts and emotions never happened. Why are you stressing about what never happened? It's a very simple logic, isn't it? But it's a logic the ego resists with all its might, because with this logic, the ego is undone entirely because it wants to carry on its existence in your mind. That's why it's difficult. So the ego tends to want to go for the other forms of forgiveness. It'll tend to devolve into, at the very sort of base level of understanding, pseudo forgiveness, and people will still think that that's somehow forgiveness. But as you progress, it becomes very obvious it's not. It's just righteous condemnation in the disguise of forgiveness. The compassionate or mock forgiveness is a difficult one. There's a lot of people will go, "Oh, well, what's wrong with that?" You know, I can understand why someone has done it. I can try and understand that they're just coming from where they are. They're in the current state of consciousness for a reason. And okay, it makes it a bit easier to deal with. But I still believe it happened, so there's still a hurt underlying it. As much as I might try and truly let it go with compassion, I can't, because I made it real from the outset. The only way you'll let go of all pain and suffering in this world is through radical forgiveness. There's no other way, because it drops all of that. It lets all of that go, and it releases your mind into the unlimited eternal freedom of the spirit, which is still the truth of who we are. So that compassion or mock forgiveness is the one to really look out for. Not if you're here tonight, you're not really in the pseudo forgiveness. You would realize long ago that that's false. But the compassionate forgiveness you may well still be doing. Maybe that's the dominant form of forgiveness. Elaine, you were talking about, you know, I still do that. So it's like, okay, well, I look at it and I realize I'm still doing that. But when I realize I'm doing it, then I can correct it and I can go the whole way instead of just going halfway. I can go the whole way by radically forgiving, reminding myself that none of this is true and none of it's real. So why am I getting upset over these illusory images in an illusory dream, which don't mean anything? That's the whole way with radical forgiveness. If you keep doing that, inevitably you will find more peace. It will give you the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. The Apostle Paul put it quite well. Surpasses all logical understanding, surpasses the ego's understanding, because the ego cannot understand radical forgiveness. If it understood radical forgiveness, it would no longer exist. So this is the problem. It can only, the best it can do is give you some kind of mock forgiveness and convince you that is the ultimate forgiveness. That compassion is the ultimate forgiveness, but it's not. There's a level above that, which is radical, that just lets go, doesn't make anything real. So why would you feel emotion about something that's not real? You can just let it go. Okay. So powerful teaching. It's worth bearing in mind. We've looked at it before, but worth looking at again, because these ideas can linger. The compassion or mock forgiveness can be quite persistent. Yeah. So Elaine, any questions or comments about that? I know we've talked about this before.
Yeah, it's work in progress for me, but I do understand the radical forgiveness is going to be far superior, of course, to just completely get to the root. Yeah.
Yeah, as your son does it all, but it's harder because you've really got to let go of all of it. You can't go,
that's
well,
the thing.
I can keep some of the pain and try and mitigate it by going, well, the person just did the best they could, even though they hurt me. The pain's still there, the hurt's still there. You just try to soften the blow a bit and go, well, I'm not going to judge them so much because, you know, they might be in pain themselves.
Yeah, do that a lot.
Evidently they are. You don't create pain for someone else unless you're in pain yourself. But the problem is it makes pain real. It makes it very real in your perception. It's real for them. It's real for you. Now we're governed by pain. The best we can try and do is understand why people behave in such ways and try not to judge them for it. Well, that's got nothing to do with radical forgiveness. You just made it real. Now you're trying to ameliorate the pain. But radical forgiveness just says pain, the suffering, the sickness, the death, well, what you're experiencing here isn't real.
Mm.
And that's why it's so powerful. Okay, so any other questions or comments on that?
Good.
Covered that nicely. It's powerful teaching. Just keep reminding yourself of what the principle of radical forgiveness is, that it's a complete letting go, a complete denial of the reality of what you're perceiving, and a reminder that only unconditional love is true. That's the only fundamental truth. Okay, so speaking of which, let's go into today's lesson. Given it's nearly 10 o'clock, so 8 o'clock there, should we just go straight into the lesson? And we'll skip the insert. We've done that a few times. So this one is 346. Go down to lesson 346. This one is, so today the peace of God envelops me. If you can read it in the original and in the alternative. Anyone who would like to read it? Lane, John, Corin.
Today, oh, yeah, go on, John. Gentleman before. Yeah.
Okay. Today the peace of God envelops me, and I forget all things except his love. Today the peace of perfect love envelops me, and I forget everything except its love.
Yeah, it's a powerful statement. Today the peace of perfect love envelops me. I forget everything except its love. If you really live this today, you're in an enlightened state. Enlightenment is just, there's only peace remaining, nothing else. He's trying to take us into this very, very high state of mind that's perfect and enlightened by saying that, okay, this is my intention for today. This envelops me. I'm actually claiming it as my reality. This envelops me and I forget everything except its love. Okay, so John, if you can read paragraph 1, which is a prayer in the original, line by line, sentence by sentence, and then the alternative after each sentence you've read in the original.
Father, I wake today with miracles correcting my perception of all things. My source, I wake today with miracles correcting my perception of all things. And so begins the day I share with you, as I will share eternity, for time has stepped aside today. And so begins the day I share with you, as I share eternity, for I have transcended time today. I do not seek the things of time, and so I will not look upon them. I do not seek the things of time, and so I will not perceive them. What I seek today transcends all laws of time and things perceived in time.
Okay.
What I seek today transcends all laws of time and things perceived in time. I will forget all things except your love. I choose to forget everything except your love. I would abide in you and know no laws except your law of love. I choose to live in you and know no laws except your law of love. And I would find the peace which you created for your Son, forgetting all the foolish toys I made as I behold your glory and my own. And I also choose to find the peace which you give your extension, forgetting all the foolish toys I made as I behold your magnificence and my own.
From the top, John, and the alternative.
My source, I wake the day with miracles correcting my perception of everything. And so begins the day I share with you as I share eternity, for I have transcended time today. I do not seek the things of time, and so I will not perceive them. What I seek today transcends all laws of time and things perceived in time. I choose to forget everything except your love. I choose to live in you and know no laws except your law of love. And I also choose to find the peace which you give your extension, forgetting all the foolish toys I have made, as I behold your magnificence and my own.
Okay. What's he saying in that one? Summary.
I kind of see it as a kind of a poetic enlargement of the theme of the day, really. So he's saying that we start the day as we hopefully continue by focusing on spirit and letting go of everything else and feeling the comfort of being enveloped by God's peace, in which time is transcended.
The envelop word is quite nice. Just
Yes.
envelops, embraces, sort of the idea of me just being held in these loving arms completely. If you ever had a hug, it's like envelops you. It's like, okay, I can feel what that feels like. This enveloping presence. It just makes you feel very loved and comforted. And so that's what that brings to mind. So, I think he emphasizes here that it's a choice. I choose to live. I choose to live in you and know no laws except your law of love. So I don't want to know about the laws of the ego and of the world. I only want to know about the law of love because it's the only law that's true. Everything else will deconstruct because it's untrue. So they're saying, forget all the foolish toys I've made, all these distractions, all the projections in this world, and perceive your magnificence and my own. Because they're the same. When I perceive the magnificence of my source, then I also come to accept it as my own. Okay. Any other thoughts on that one?
No, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Elaine, Aaron?
Yeah, good.
Okay, and Elaine, if you can read number 2, paragraph 2, short
Yeah.
and sweet.
And when the evening comes today, we will remember nothing but the peace of God. And when the evening comes today, I will remember nothing but the peace of perfect love. For we will learn today what peace is ours when we forget all things except God's love. For when I forget all things except pure formless awareness of perfect love, I will learn that peace is mine today.
And then from the top,
And when the evening comes today, I will remember nothing but the peace of perfect love. For when I forget all things except pure formless awareness of perfect love, I will learn that peace is mine today.
Okay, so
Well, it's a nice little
that.
comforting paragraph, isn't it? Yeah. When the evening draws in, we think of nothing but the peace of perfect love.
Mhm.
And when we
We're
are
saying
in
this, you start the day, so it begins the day and then carries through the day, and evening comes. And you stay in this very peaceful state. So your whole day is spent living in the spirit, living in peace. If you really apply this lesson, and that would be your experience. Forget everything. You see the exclusivity, saying you've got to forget everything else. That's the only way to remember pure formless awareness of perfect love. You can't remember and honor some of an illusion and remember the truth that is beyond that illusion. One thought of duality, of awareness not being pure formless, but being form, ruins it. And it undoes that pure formless awareness, seemingly destroys it. And that's exactly what the ego does, what it is, continuously trying to destroy, to sabotage this awareness, which is your own perfect, pristine awareness. Okay, so again, short, sweet pointer to the truth. In the sutra style, it's just 2 short paragraphs, very short, sweet, and to the point. So the idea of the lesson is just to meditate on it, use it non-intellectually to contemplate the truth and really go into that. All right. So yeah, any other questions, thoughts, or comments on the lesson?
Good. Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So we can do a meditation now on this if we want, or we could go on to do some song of prayer.
Yeah.
Given that we're talking about forgiveness to destroy, I'm going to do this tomorrow. There's one more section of the song of prayer. There's no rush because it's the last one. So forgiveness to destroy, and more results. To destroy, that's the one I want. Okay, so forgiveness to destroy. This is section 2.2, Song of Prayer. If you have it in a book or whatever, and you want to follow on about exactly this concept we looked at a little while ago. What is pseudo forgiveness, I called it, or forgiveness to destroy, really all about. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Forgiveness to destroy. So, John, if you can read paragraph 1 in the original and then alternative only. John, are you there? Can you read?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Let's read paragraph 1 in the original alternative.
Forgiveness to destroy has many forms, being a weapon of the world of form. Letting go to destroy has many forms, being a weapon of the world of form. Not all of them are obvious, and some are carefully concealed beneath what seems like charity. Not all of them are obvious, and some are carefully concealed beneath what seems like kindness. Yes, all the forms that it may seem to take have but this single goal. Their purpose is to separate and make what God created equal different. Yet all the forms that it may seem to take have only this single goal. Their purpose is to separate and make what pure formless awareness of perfect love extends as equal different. The difference is clear in several forms where the design comparison cannot be missed, nor is it really meant to be. The difference is clear in several forms where the design comparison cannot be missed, nor is it really meant to be. Now from the DAP. Letting go to destroy has many forms, being a weapon of the world of form. Not all of them are obvious, and some are carefully concealed beneath what seems like kindness. Yet all the forms that it may seem to take have only this single goal. Their purpose is to separate and make what pure formless awareness of perfect love extends as equal, different. The difference is clear in several forms where the design comparison cannot be missed, nor is it really meant to be.
Okay, so thoughts on that?
Actually, I'm just struggling a little bit with that last sentence, actually. The difference is clear in several forms where the design comparison cannot be missed, nor is it really meant to be.
And then he'll explain it by example.
Yeah.
In the next paragraphs, he
Okay.
goes on to give the examples of it, because it's a bit obtuse on
Yeah.
its own. Okay, so what does that actually mean? Well, he gives examples
Okay.
of exactly how it plays out.
Yeah.
So these forms of forgiveness to destroy are letting go to destroy,
Yeah. So
while
it's
the
saying that,
ego's defense.
yeah, so it's saying that they come in different with different nuances, but they are all essentially the same.
Hmm.
And all are furthering the ego.
Yeah. The only purpose is to separate you from your source, make what pure formless awareness of perfect love extends as equal, different. So now I'm not equal to my brother, I'm somehow separate and different from him. And that's what the ego is always trying to do. So any form of letting go that fosters inequality cannot be true letting go. It's another way of looking at it. So if I think I've let go, let's say I've done compassionate forgiveness, but there's still a difference in my mind. I still see the person as other to me and having done something wrong or something hurtful. But, I'm trying to mitigate it by thinking that, well, they couldn't really help themselves or they had a bad childhood or whatever. Yet I still see them as separate from me. Then I haven't really forgiven at all. The oneness is the outcome of true forgiveness. When you really let go, then you restore your mind to oneness. Yeah, so setting the scene nicely, saying these are some of the forms that the ego uses, and it's forgiveness to destroy or letting go to destroy, just an attempt to keep itself in business. So let's go into number 2 then, see what those forms are. Elaine, if you can read that in the original alternative.
In this group, in this group, first, there are the forms in which a better person designs to stoop to save a baser one from what he truly is. In this group, first, there are the forms in which a better person designs to stoop to save a baser one from what.
Yeah, that's Danes. It's not designs, it's Danes. So Danes means they're like condescendingly go, oh well, you're inferior to me, but I'll give you the grace of letting go, even though you're kind of on a lower level. That's what Danes mean. So if someone on a higher level going, well, you miserable sinner, or you poor wretch, I'll help you because I'm a good person. But actually, you still see very much the difference and the separation. which is exactly why it's not radical forgiveness.
Yeah. Forgiveness here
Carry on.
rests. Yeah, forgiveness here rests on an attitude of gracious Lordness, so far from love that arrogance could never be dislodged. This kind of letting go rests on an attitude of gracious Lordness, so far from love that arrogance can never be dislodged. Who can forgive and yet despise? Who can truly let go and yet despise anyone? We can forgive. Oh, no, done that one, haven't we? Who can forgive and yet despise? We've just done that one. And who can tell another he is steep in sin and yet perceive him as Son of God? And who can tell another they are steeped in sin and yet perceive them as an extension of perfect love? And who can tell another? And who makes a slave to teach what freedom is? Who makes a slave to teach what freedom is? There is no union here, but only grief. There is no union here, but only grief. This is not really mercy. This is not really unconditional love. This is death. This is death.
Okay, and from the top.
In this group, first, there are the forms in which a better person deigns to stoop to save a baser one from what he truly is. This kind of letting go rests on an attitude of gracious lordness, so far from love that arrogance can never be dislodged.
Yeah, it's lordliness. So saying, well, I'm the lord of the manor, I'm on this higher level, and I'll graciously bestow my favors upon you. As in England, they used to do. These lords of the manor were often very arrogant. And, so, well, I'll graciously bestow this gift upon you, you peasant, but you are not in any way equal to me. That's kind of what he's referring to. So it's quite a nice word, because we know what, if we understand history and the whole class system in places like the UK, Europe, it was very much like that. There were these lordly nobles who would then treat the peasants, sometimes terribly, but even if they were sort of kind, they were doing it from a superior position. It was never like the peasant is me, they're the same as me. They would never, believe that they were on the same level, because they were so, in their mind, so far, so much superior. So this is what he's referring to. So far from love that arrogance can never be dislodged. It's a very arrogant attitude. Okay, carry on.
Who can truly let go and yet despise anyone? And who can tell another they are steeped in sin and yet perceive them as the extension of perfect love? Who makes a slave to teach what freedom is? There is no union here, but only grief. There is not really unconditional love. This is death.
Yeah, this is not really unconditional love or mercy. So unconditional love translation. This is death. Okay, so what's summary of that? What's he saying in summary?
Well, we can't truly let go of this group because, one just thinks they're far, far superior and arrogant, and the other lowly person. So that there's no real unconditional love there, but really there's just death. There's no union, but only grief. So it's not letting go truly.
Oh. Yeah. So it's false. And just how arrogant it is, because it's coming from the position of that I'm superior to you. So I'm unequal, I'm different, I'm superior. Well, true letting go restores equality because we're one self. So it must always restore us to that base state of equality. If it's not doing that, then it's not truly letting go. It's not truly effective. Actually saying it's a form of death. This is death, not life. And in specialness, in all of its forms, and life lies in unconditional love, which is perfect oneness. Pure formless awareness of perfect oneness or love is the very life essence that you are. Everything else that denies that is death. That's the simple truth. That's the simple, and that's why this teaching, non-dual teaching, is an all or nothing deal. Because if you accept anything else other than this perfect love and life, then you accept that death is real. You accept that the opposite is true and is possible. And then you start dwelling in the opposite and you disbelieve. To believe one, you must disbelieve the other. You can't believe in eternal life and also in death, you see. So it seemed to be an obvious contradiction, doesn't it? Well, yes, death and life obviously contradict each other. But most teachings don't see that clear contradiction. They try and somehow fudge it and go, well, God is a God of life and love, and yet there's death, and somehow I'm going to try and believe that God would do that. God would create a world where pain and suffering and sickness and sin and death are seemingly real. And well, all you can say if you believe that is that God works in mysterious ways, which you don't understand. Really, that means that you don't understand. Because it's not a mystery. If you really understand, then there's no mystery remaining. You've solved the puzzle. And the only way to solve that is take a stand on for the truth. So, well, none of the illusions can be true then. So they're all unreal. They can therefore all be undone because they never really existed in the first place. And I can restore my mind to its original state, which in fact it's never left. I've always been in that state. I just had this wild illusion that I was something else for a while. Okay, so that's the first sign, the first type of this false forgiveness to destroy, as he calls it, coming from a superior position and saying, I'll forgive you, you miserable sinner. This is exactly the pseudo forgiveness we talked about, yeah? Just now. It's from that position of superiority. I, as the pious, righteous, usually Christian, forgiveness is typically a Christian teaching. I will forgive you, you miserable sinner, from my position of lordliness, of being, so far above you, and yet I'll probably believe you're going to burn in hell anyway. Well, where's the forgiveness in that? You're making the sin real. You're making yourself separate from the other person, superior to the other person. Sin and guilt are still real. Has anything really been let go of? No. So it's just the ego's system of sin and guilt and fear and attack masquerading as some kind of forgiveness, but it's not. That's why he calls it forgiveness to destroy, because it destroys the truth in your mind, not permanently, in your awareness. It destroys the truth. Okay. So I'm happy with number 2.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
to 3 then. Number 4. We'll very like the first. John, I think you can read. I don't know what's happened to Karen. She's just listening, but if you can read it.
Yep. Another form, still very like the first, if it is understood, does not appear in quite such blatant arrogance. Another form, still very like the first, if it is understood, does not appear in quite such blatant arrogance. The one who would forgive the other does not claim to be better. The one who would let go of the other's apparent sins does not claim to be better. Instead, oh no, now he says instead that here is one whose sinfulness he shares, since both have been unworthy and deserve the retribution of the wrath of God. Instead, they now say that they share the other person's sinfulness, since both have been unworthy and deserve the retribution and the wrath of God. This can appear to be a humble thought, and may indeed induce a rivalry in sinfulness and guilt. This can appear to be a humble thought, and may indeed induce a rivalry in sinfulness and guilt. It is not love for God's creation and the holiness that he is gift forever. It is not love for perfect love's extension and the pure formless awareness that is its gift forever. Can his son condemn himself and still remember him? Can its extension condemn itself and still remember it?
Again, from the top.
Another form, still very like the first, if it is understood, does not appear in quite such blatant arrogance. The person who would let go of the other's apparent sins does not claim to be better. Instead, they now say that they share the other person's sinfulness, since both have been unworthy and deserve the retribution of the wrath of God. This can appear to be a humble thought, and may indeed induce a rivalry in sinfulness and guilt. It is not love for perfect extension and the pure formless awareness that is its gift forever. Can its extension condemn itself and still remember it? Question.
Okay, so what's he saying in this one?
We're saying that another form of forgiveness to kill, but perhaps less obvious or less blatantly obvious, is where we say we're going to, well, it's actually to kind of jump into the mire with them and say that we are as bad as they are,
Yeah.
and with all the potential dangers of that, could even produce a competition of sin.
Yeah. Oh, you think you've sinned? Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I'm even worse. I'm such a terrible sinner. This is what I've done. Oh, and then it becomes a sin party. Oh, aren't we just all so sinful, guilty, and oh, it's so terrible. You make sin and guilt real, and you make the retribution of the wrath of God, this fearful, wrathful God idea, which is just an idea, make it real in both of your perception. You reinforce it for each other, and you see this in formal religion. So if you have a particular sect or maybe even just a particular church that where there's a teacher, a pastor who believes in this, then the people start sharing an idea. And suddenly guilt become very real, and it gets a hold on the mind, and it's just destructive. Guilt is always destructive. Look at this kind of lays it out. You see why the idea of a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God is essential to the ego system. Because if guilt and sin are real, then you must be punished. And what's going to punish you but this concept now of a fearful, wrathful God is somehow outside of you and you've sinned against. And now you fear this retribution and this punishment. And then when we join in that, we go, oh, we're all such terrible sinners. Woe is us. And in the traditional Christian teachings, again, especially, it's a very strong emphasis on that shared sin. They call it the doctrine of original sin. We're all born as sinners. We were born into sin. We'll die in sin. And yet, Jesus saves us. So hang on, which is it? You're born in sin, you die in sin, sin's seemingly eternal, and yet you say, Jesus has saved me. Well, how can both of those be true? It's a very kind of split mind thing, a compromise approach. So it's not all dark because there's some kind of light in the symbol of Jesus or Yeshua. But the sin and the guilt are still very real in the person's perception. And Jesus kind of, I don't know, it's strange belief system because he sort of alleviates it somewhat. Jesus loves me and he saves me. And yet I've got this heavy burden of sin and guilt that I'm just continuously dealing with. In the Catholic Church, you have to keep going to confession to somehow expiate the guilt. But it doesn't work because you have to do it again every week. You're supposed to go to confession and confess more of your sin and your guilt. So it's just reinforcing the sin and the guilt. It's not getting rid of it. So you get all these kind of bizarre beliefs and contradictions that come in, these false forms of forgiveness that honestly, if you look at them, honestly don't really make any sense, which is what he's trying to highlight here. So this doesn't appear to be quite such blatant arrogance, but actually it is arrogant because you're saying that the Son of God, the extension of perfect love, who is sinless, completely innocent by nature, is guilty. Well, that's arrogant. You're denying the truth and believing in the ego's identity instead of truth, which is the ego's fundamental arrogance, which asserts its existence over the existence of God. That's the arrogant belief. Okay? So that one's pretty clear, I think. Rivalry and sin, that's never going to work. Don't fall into that kind of a pity party or sin party. Maybe you've had interactions with people who want to do this and you have to just resist it because they want to pull you, they want to suck you into that downward spiral of sin by joining in. So, or it becomes often the sin is manifest as a victim story. See, so it's not always that obvious. Oh well, we're all evil sinners. It's I'm just a victim, and then the other person says, but wait, listen to my story. I'm even more of a victim because look at what happened to me. That's another way this would play out. You see, it is a rivalry in sin and guilt, even though it seems to be a rivalry in victimhood. If you understand that victimhood is sin and guilt, the source of victimhood is sin and guilt, as we can see here in the diagram, then you see that it's just another of these contests in sinfulness and guilt. Yeah. Okay, so any other thoughts or comments on number 3? There's 2 forms that he's done of false forgiveness. So number 4. If you can read that.
Yeah. Here the goal is to separate from God, the Son he loves, and keep him from his source. Here the goal is to separate from pure formless awareness of perfect love, the extension it loves, and keeps it from its source. This goal is also sought by those who seek the role of martyr at another's hand. And this goal is also sought by those who seek the role of martyr because of another's action. Need to bring that.
Now I mentioned the victim. So this is the person who's the victim. Oh, poor me, I'm so hardly done by this person. Or someone really hurt me, and now I'm a martyr. So I'm more a victim than someone else. All right, carry on. Yeah, I must clearly see the aim.
I can't see it. Can't see. You need to bring the paragraph down a bit. Here the goal is to separate from God, the Son he loves, and keep him from his source.
I think you skipped. We're on number 3. Yeah, must the aim be clearly seen?
Can't see it. Oh,
Right?
yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
3.
Yes, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Right. Here must the aim be clearly seen, for this may pass as meekness and as charity instead of cruelty. Here I must clearly see the aim, for this may pass for meekness and as unconditional love instead of cruelty. It is not kind to be accepting of another's spite and not respond except with silence and a gentle smile. Is it not kind to be accepting of another's spite and not respond except with silence and a gentle smile? Behold, how good are you who bear with patience and with saintliness the anger and the hurt another gives, and do not show the bitter pain you feel. I try to convince myself how good I am, who bear with patience and saintliness the anger and hurt another person gives me, and do not show the bitter pain I feel. So from the top, here the goal is to separate from perfect love the extension it loves and keep it from its source. This goal is also sought by those who seek the role of martyr because of another's actions. Here I must clearly see the aim, for this may pass for meekness and as unconditional love instead of cruelty. It is not kind to be accepting of another's spite and not respond except with silence and a gentle smile.
Is it not kind? Is it not?
Is it not kind, dear? I try to convince myself how good I am, I who bear with patience and saintliness the anger and hurt another person gives me, and do not show the bitter pain I feel. Well, this is another goal, and it's to seek the role of martyr because of somebody else's actions. So
this is the classic victim. Oh, poor me, oh, woe is me. But
victim.
Such a good person, I won't say anything, I'll complain. So the typical, this would be typically someone who's been in an abusive relationship or something for years. They don't say anything, they don't do anything, they're just, well, that's my lot in life, and I just couldn't bear it, and I'm so saintly, and the other person's in the wrong. But underneath that would be a deep level of resentment, anger, unforgiveness, which can sometimes come out in, well, it'll come out in one way or another. So often the person will get sick, things like cancer and so on. Or they might just snap and become a killer. They might just go, I can't take it anymore. And then one day, having been the meek and mild partner, they might just kill their partner because they can't take it anymore. And all of that anger and resentment just bubbles up uncontrollably. They act on it. So those are, two ways it could play out. But either way, you shouldn't indulge in it because it's the lowest self-concept. The martyr is the victim par excellence. Oh, poor me, I'm such a martyr. So you're just playing the victim of a cruel, unfair world that's outside of you, believing in the illusion of a helpless, enervated little life of limitation, lack, loneliness, and suffering before you die. And all of that just puts you in the prison of the ego self-concept and keeps you very far away from true self and pure formless awareness of perfect love that is its source. So we must let go of that misperception. We're not victims, we're not martyrs, no matter what's happened to us. It's really all just a sign of our ego's delusion. Hey, you might have believed you were a martyr, a victim, but you're not really. Okay, so any other thoughts on number 4 on that particular form of forgiveness to destroy?
That's clear. It's good.
Okay, number 5. John, if you can read number 5.
Forgiveness to destroy will often hide behind a cloak like this. Letting go to destroy often hides behind a cloak like this. It shows the face of suffering and pain in silent proof of guilt and of the ravages of sin. It shows the face of suffering and pain in silent proof of guilt and the ravages of sin. Such is the witness that it offers one who could be saviour, not an enemy. Such is the witness that it offers me, who could awaken them rather than be an enemy to them. But having been made enemy, he must accept the guilt and heavy laid reproach that thus is put upon him. But having been made an enemy, I must then accept the guilt and heavy laid reproach that is imposed upon me. Is this love? Is this love? Or is it rather treachery to one who needs salvation from the pain of guilt? Or is it rather treachery to me who needs awakening from the pain of guilt? What could the purpose be except to keep the witnesses of guilt away from love? What could the purpose be in this kind of letting go except to keep the witnesses of guilt away from love?
And then from the top.
Letting go to destroy often hides behind a cloak like this. It shows the face of suffering and pain in silent proof of guilt and the ravages of sin. Such is the witness that it offers me, who could awaken them rather than be an enemy to them. But having been made an enemy, I must then accept the guilt and heavy laid reproach that is imposed upon me. Is this love? Or is it rather treachery to me who needs awakening from the pain of guilt? What could the purpose be in this kind of letting go except to keep the witnesses of guilt away from love?
Okay, what's he saying there? In
I
summary?
think is kind of echoing this idea of jumping into the Maya with them and appearing to be hurt in the same way that they are.
Hmm.
But we're not helping anybody when we do
Yeah.
that. And we're not helping them awaken from the guilt, from the pain. We're just reinforcing it.
Hmm. Yeah. Guilt away from love. So the victim identity, the martyr, the superior one, the idea that you're sharing in sin and guilt. These are all delusions, that none of which will work to really free you from sin and guilt. He says forgiveness to destroy or hide behind a cloak like this. So I'm saying it's really just treachery to love. It's not love at all. Okay, happy with that. Number 6 then, it's another form. Also take the form of bargaining and compromise.
Forgiveness to destroy can also take the form of bargaining and compromise. Letting go to destroy can also take the form of bargaining and compromise. I will forgive you if you need my needs, for in your slavery is my release. I will let go of your sins if you meet my needs, for in your slavery is my release. Say this to anyone, and you are a slave. Say this to anyone, and I am a slave. And you will seek to rid yourself of guilt in further bargainings, which can give no hope but only greater pain and misery. And I will seek to rid myself of guilt in further bargains, which give no, I can't see the rest, needs to be lifted up. And will give no hope, but only greater pain and misery. How fearful has forgiveness now become, and how distorted is the end it seeks.
Number 5, how fearful is letting
How fearful can't see. You've got a little box in front of it.
Yeah, right. Sorry, that's popped up. Okay.
How fearful has letting go now become to me, and how distorted is the end it seeks. Yeah. Where am I?
Number 6.
Ah, yeah. Have mercy on yourself who bargains thus. 6. I must unconditionally love myself who bargains on this way.
In this way.
And God gives and does not ask for recompense. There is no giving but to give like pure formless awareness of perfect love, I guess.
Yeah, we're number 7.
Yeah. Pure formless awareness of perfect love gives and does not ask for compensation. There is no giving but to give like him. There is no giving but to give like pure formless awareness of perfect love. All else is mockery. all else is mockery of it. For who would try to strike a bargain with the Son of God and thank his Father for his holiness? For who would try to strike a bargain with the extension of perfect love and thank its source for its innocence? Okay, from the top. Letting go to destroy can take the form of bargaining and compromise. I will let go of your sins if you meet my needs, for in your slavery is my release. Say this to anyone, and I am a slave. And I will seek to rid myself of guilt in further bargains, which give no hope, but only greater pain and misery. How fearful has letting go now become to me, and how distorted is the end it seeks. I who bargain in this way must unconditionally love myself. Pure formless awareness of perfect love gives and does not ask for compensation. There is no giving but to give like pure formless awareness of perfect love. All else is a mockery of it. For who would try to strike a bargain with the extension of perfect love and thank its source for its innocence? So this kind of letting go to destroy is a bargaining and a compromise. But it's only if it meets your needs.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is classic manipulation, control, special relationships. Yeah, I'll forgive you if you meet my needs. And your slavery is my release. That's what you're really saying. Say this to anyone, I'm a slave.
What would be an example of that one then, John? I mean, I forgive you if you
do what I want.
if you don't tell so and so that such and such happened.
Yeah. You know, I want you to do something. So
Oh yeah,
I
okay.
manipulate you and I say, well, you know, I'll forgive you. I love you, but the love's conditional. If you do what I want you to do.
Yeah.
If you, it can play out in many ways. You know, if you do what I want you to do, if you say what I want you to say, if you compromise on your own principles and believe in what I'm saying rather than honor, you know, what your heart's saying, many ways. It's a manipulation. It's a control. If you meet my needs, then I'll forgive you. And if a person is desperate for some kind of love and recognition, they'll fall for it. I'll go, yeah, okay, I'll do what you want me to do because I get some kind of love, even though it's not really love, it's conditional love.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a codependent relationship. It's characterized by manipulation, control, deceit. Inevitably, there's resentment because the person being manipulated and controlled kind of knows it on a soul level. They know that and they resent it. And none of that is true quality or true letting go at all. It's just more ego, specialness masquerading as some kind of forgiveness. So how distorted this all becomes. I bargained this way, must unconditionally love myself. And you notice how we've all been in relationships, special relationships, that these kinds of patterns play out. And you see it and you go, that's not unconditional love. It's very conditional. Like I'll do this for you if you do this for me, and if you don't do what I want you to do, then I'm upset. And where's the genuine love? I can't just love you anyway. It doesn't really matter what you do. which is why unconditional love is so rare in this world. Because it means love without any condition. Well, how many people are capable of that? So most people, it's like, I love you, but you got to do what I want you to do, perform in the way I want you to do, perform and behave in certain ways, and then I love you. And if you do it in any other way, then I don't love you. I withdraw my love because that's a way of controlling you and getting you back into line to meet my ego's expectations. So love becomes a weapon to control rather than just freely given and freely received. That's special love, of course. So this is kind of what he's talking about. And who would strike a bargain? Who would bargain for love when there's unconditional love freely given and received? And it's available to you always in infinite abundance for all eternity. Who would then play with these toys of guilt and bargain for some kind of special love when in infinite eternal love is available? You'd have to be mad to do it, wouldn't you? Which is why he's saying we're all crazy. You believe that special love is love. It's not at all. It's actually just hatred in disguise. A thin disguise that doesn't last for very long. So all special relationships end in pain because that's all the ego knows. The illusion of love was never love at all. It's just an illusion. Okay, is that John? It's a reasonable example.
Yeah, that's good.
Many ways it can play out, but that kind of manipulative, controlling. I love you if you do what I want, but I don't love you if you don't. That's typically how it plays out. I forgive you. You did something. I forgive you if you toe the line. If you fall into line, you do what I want, then I forgive you. If you don't, then you remain outside of my love because I want to try and use my forgiveness as a tool to control your behavior. As he's saying, that's just slavery. He's enslaving the person, not freeing. So it's quite brilliantly, he understands the nuances of the ego. So it's quite. This course is a brilliant analysis of the ego's thought system and all the different ways it plays out. So that once we read it, we understand these ways and we don't fool by them. That's the whole idea.
I don't know why it is because I know I read through this just 3 or 4 weeks ago, and but you haven't done it recently, have you, John?
Well, we did it. It's 2.2. We're on 3.4. So it was about 10 days ago, I think.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's why I've read it through.
Yeah, it was 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, look at it again, given the subject matter is forgiveness to destroy, and some quite profound stuff in it. We've got one more section of the Song of Prayer to go, so we'll do that tomorrow. Okay, what would you show your brother? Move on to number 7.
What would you show your brother? What would I show my companion? Would you try to reinforce his guilt and thus your own? Would I try to reinforce their guilt and therefore my own? Forgiveness is the means for your escape. Truly letting go is the means for my escape. How pitiful it is to make of it the means for further slavery and pain. How pitiful it is to make of it the means for further slavery and pain. Within the world of opposites, there is a way to use forgiveness for the goal of God and find the peace he offers you. Within the world of opposites, there is a way to use letting go for the goal of perfect love and find the peace it offers me. Take nothing else, or you have sought your death and prayed for separation from yourself. I accept nothing else, or I will have sought my death and prayed for separation from myself. Christ is for all. Christ is for all because he is in all. My true self is in all. My true self is for all because it is in all. It is his face forgiveness lets you see. It is its identity letting go helps me understand. It is his face in which you see your own. It is in its identity that I come to know my own.
Okay, from the top.
So what would I show my companion? Would I try to reinforce their guilt and therefore my own? Truly letting go is the means for my escape. How pitiful it is to make of it the means for further slavery and pain. Within the world of opposites, there is a way to use letting go for the goal of perfect love and find the peace it offers me. I accept nothing else, or I will have sought my death and asked for separation from myself. My true self is for all because it is in all. Letting go helps me understand its identity. I come to know my own identity in its.
Okay, so what's he saying in this one?
So it's saying here that it's saying what is asking us what we really want to do. Do we want to kind of just keep on inflicting pain, or do we want to really truly let go and find freedom for ourselves and our companions? Because letting go is nothing else. No other form will do it.
Yeah. And when I let go, I think the key point is when I let go, I understand my own identity. Letting go is the means for me to awaken to myself. It's the one technique that reveals your true identity. And so every spiritual technique, every spiritual practice is really about letting go of the false self to reveal the truth. Whether it's breath work or meditation, explicit forgiveness, like we do the Instrument for Peace or 10-step letting go process, or any others. There's many other spiritual practices, forms of meditation, chanting, prayer. It's all designed to help you let go of the old self, false self, and reveal the true self. And so through the spiritual practice of letting go, you come to know yourself, which is why it's absolutely essential. Without letting go, you cannot know your true self because you'll still believe in the false self that has superseded it. With letting go, that's all removed, and what reveals itself is the true self that was always there, but just covered over by the false self and all of its thoughts and emotions. So through letting go, I come to know my own identity in it. So I raise myself up. Looked at this diagram before, but the Christ Holy Trinity Holy Trinity diagram. I raise myself up into the Christ, or the true self, identifying with that. The more I let go, that raises me up above the battleground where I don't really see none of this stuff at the true self level is real. You recognize that although it seems to be happening, it's all just happening in an illusory dream, and you're not attached to any of it. That's the true self of Christ, and that's a short step away. And that final step God takes, your forms of awareness of perfect love, just kind of at that high level, just merge back into it, becomes one with you. Okay, so that's how the Holy Trinity works, and that's really what he's talking about here. The true self is the Christ that connects you ultimately with your source. All right, so last paragraph. Elaine, read that, number 8. All forms of forgiveness takes.
All forms of forgiveness takes that do not lead away from anger, condemnation, and comparisons of every kind. Every kind are death. All forms that letting go takes that do not lead away from anger, condemnation, and comparisons of any kind are really death. For that is what their purpose have set. For this is what their purposes have set. Be not deceived by them, but lay them by as worthless in their tragic offerings. For this is, so I will not be deceived by them, but instead let them go as worthless in their tragic offerings. You do not want to stay in slavery. I do not want to remain in slavery. You do not want to be afraid of God. I do not want to be afraid of perfect love. You want to see the sunlight and the glow of heaven shining on the face of earth, redeemed from sin and in the love of God. I want to see the sunlight and the glow of perfect love shining on the face of earth, redeemed from sin and in the pure formless awareness of perfect love. From here is prayer released along with you. From here, prayer is released along with me. Your wings are free, and a prayer will lift you up and bring you home from God would have you be. My wings are free, and prayer will lift me up and bring me home where pure formless awareness of perfect love wants me to be. From the top. All forms that letting go takes that do not lead away from anger, condemnation, and comparisons of any kind are really death. For this is what their purpose have set. I will not be deceived by them, but instead let them go as worthless in their tragic offerings. I do not want to remain in slavery. I do not want to be afraid of perfect love. I want to see the sunlight and the glow of perfect love shining on the face of earth, redeemed from sin and in the pure formless awareness of perfect love. From here, prayer is released along with me. My wings are free, and prayer will lift me up and bring me home where pure formless awareness of perfect love wants me to be.
Okay.
So it's just to do with letting go. There's no form of letting go if there's anger and condemnation and comparisons. All other letting go like that is just leading to death. But we won't be deceived by them, but instead let them go for the worthless, tragic offerings that they offer, and to get out of the slavery and not be afraid of perfect love. We want to see the glow of perfect love. So from there, we're free. And take us back home to our pure formless awareness of perfect love where it wants us to be.
Mm. My wings are free. I remember when we did this originally, there was that Enya song about only if.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, that was, yeah.
My wings are free. So,
Mm.
so letting go gives us wings. I got it wrong. Red Bull got it wrong. It's not Red Bull that gives you wings. It's it's letting go. Letting go gives you wings. Frees you from all the illusions. raises you up above the battleground into the awareness of your true self or Christ, where you can only perceive all of the things in time and space differently. You see now with corrected perception or true perception or Christ's vision. You look on all of us, and this letting go raises you up into that higher awareness where you can perceive everything correctly without any of the judgments that the ego specializes in. Okay, so any other thoughts on number 8?
That's
So
good.
we've got a few forms of false forgiveness in there, which is summarized in the summary. So if I read that just as a quick summary. John, if you can read paragraph 1 kindly.
Letting go to destroy a weapon in the world of form takes many forms, not all of which are obvious. Some forms are disguised as kindness, but their ultimate goal is to separate and differentiate what pure forms of awareness of perfect love created to be equal. These forms can range from overt arrogance to far more subtle forms. Shall I do another one?
Thoughts on number 1? Just any quick reflection on that paragraph.
No, I mean, it's kind of setting the scene in a summary way that letting go to destroy appears in many different guises.
Yeah.
But the purpose of all of it is to cause further separation.
Yeah. Yeah, so he sets the scene in number 2, the next second paragraph. If you want to read that, you can.
One common form involves a supposed better person condescending to save a baser one, which rests on an attitude far removed from love and steeped in arrogance. This is not true, letting go, but a reinforcement of separation and superiority. Another similar form is where someone claims to share in another's sinfulness, promoting a false sense of humility and fosters guilt rather than genuine love for perfect love's extension. So he's pointing out here 2 of these forms. One is the kind of better person looking down on the baser one. Reminds me of that John Cleese sketch where John Cleese looks down on somebody else.
Yeah.
And
That's forgiveness, classic forgiveness to destroy, and we call it pseudo forgiveness. So it's the kind of worst form of it, really. It's not really forgiveness at all. It's I, the superior one, forgive you, the sinner, but actually you're still sinful and you're still going to burn in hell.
yeah.
So where's there any sense of real forgiveness, of actually letting go of that misperception? There isn't.
And then
You see it quite often in the Christian community.
yeah.
That forgiveness.
And then the second one is talking about this is where somebody else jumps into the mire with them and pretends that they're an equal sinner.
Yeah. Becomes a sin party. Oh, so think you're sinful. Oh, I'm just way worse than what I've done. Wait until you hear what I've done. And now it becomes because the ego doesn't really matter to the ego if better on something better or something worse. As long as you're more of something, then you're separate from the other person, you see. So you can be more of a victim or more sinful, more guilty, and the ego is okay with it because it creates a difference and a separation. Which is why these insanities occur. It's like, well, who would, in their right mind, would want to be guilty than someone else, more sinful than someone else? Is that really any kind of choice you want to make? No, but for the ego, it doesn't matter. As long as it creates a separate identity, it's happy. So that's why these kinds of bizarre behaviors exist, because the ego is insane. We'll go to great lengths to prove it. Okay, number 3, Elaine, that these approaches aim to separate.
These approaches aim to separate from pure formless awareness of perfect love, the extension it loves, keeping them from their source. This separation is also sought in the guise of martyrdom, where escaping another's spite and attacks it's misconstrued as kindness, but in reality its form of self-punishment and self-deception. So letting go to destroy can also take the form of bargaining, where letting go is conditional upon personal gain, leading to further pain and misery. This perverted form of letting go becomes a tool for reinforcing guilt rather than releasing it. Well, it's just about being a martyr and just accepting another's spite and attacks, which is in the guise of kindness, but really it's in the form of self-punishment and self-deception. So letting go to destroy in this form is just bargaining, and letting go is conditional, but their own personal gain, just leading to more pain and misery.
Mm. Okay, do that.
Yep.
Next one, John, 2, letting go. Or Elaine, you can read it.
True
Yeah.
letting go. True letting go should be a means of escape from guilt, not a method for perpetuating it. In the world of opposites, there is a way to use letting go aligned with the goal of perfect love to find the peace it offers. It should lead away from anger, condemnation, and destructive comparisons. All forms of letting go that do not lead to this liberation are essentially forms of death, and I should recognize them as such and let them go. So it's saying that radical forgiveness will lead us into a feeling of upliftment and freedom, whereas all other forms will drag us down.
Yeah. So these are really forms of death that I can just recognize as such. Well, this is just another form of death. It's a death wish. So why would I choose a death wish? That's insane. I am really eternal life. I cannot choose a death wish. So it makes it very clear. And some people are, oh, that's a bit shocking. It's a bit harsh when you say everything else is forms of death. You can't handle the kind of radical honesty that he's asking us to exercise. But if you do, then life becomes quite simple. You just see it for what it is. And it's just another form of death. Death is not life. So all I can do is let go. Let go of what's false to reveal what's true. Okay, the last paragraph.
In my essence, I seek to see the sunlight and the glow of perfect love shining on the earth, redeemed from sin and in pure formless awareness of perfect love. This is where prayer is truly released, freeing me from sin and guiding me home to where pure formless awareness of perfect love wants me to be.
Okay.
So it's saying here that in truth, we want forgiveness to lead us to be uplifting and enriching. And this is where where prayer can be helpful also in taking us home.
Yeah. So the true prayer is the intention to let go. True prayer is let me let go of everything, so that I reveal my true self in Christ. So the prayer is the intention to let go, and the letting go of forgiveness is the actual letting go, where you really drop the thoughts and emotions. So you need to. So that kind of explains the relationship between prayer and letting go quite well, doesn't it? Prayer is the intention, and letting go is the actualization of the intention. Confirm that that intention was true and real. All right. And then just the key message. Elaine, if you can read that.
Letting go to destroy in its various forms aims to separate and judge, contrasting with the unity and equality intended by pure formless awareness of perfect love. True letting go leads away from guilt, anger, and condemnation, guiding me towards peace and ultimate freedom in pure formless awareness of perfect love. So, just again, the letting go to destroy has its varying forms, but all of them aim to separate and judge. So true letting go takes us away from guilt and anger and condemnation and guides us towards peace and freedom of the pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Yeah, pretty simple. He's just given us the different forms of letting go to destroy, so that we're aware of them. We don't get fooled by any of them, but that these are actually somehow love when they're not. Okay, any other thoughts, comments, questions, overall summary?
No, that's good. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, what forgiveness? So if I was going to say to you, what's forgiveness to destroy? How would you explain that in a couple of sentences? How would you explain it?
It comes in varying forms, martyr, there's the superior, baser one. There's all kinds of forms of it, but that just leads to misery and suffering and condemnation. And so that's not true forgiveness. True forgiveness is letting go and guiding us towards our peace and freedom of perfect love.
Yeah, true letting go restores our unity. I think that's the key point. So false letting go keeps the ego alive. We think we're still separate from someone else. We still have our own identity, and so do they. Radical letting go collapses that illusion, restores our mind into the one mind. Okay, so as we've done it twice, but there's a reason for that. Spirit's guided us. Given the subject matter of today's email, this is perfect. And we've still got about 2 weeks of the program left to finish the Song of Prayers, only one section. Then we'll have a look at just randomly selected passages from the course and some of the poems, actually. Helen Schuckman wrote some poems. So which are published. So some of those are quite instructive. We'll look at those as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the reading. Would you like to do a meditation to close it out? Or can do a meditation for
Well, I
15
can do
minutes
it.
if you like.
Yeah, yes, please, John.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So give me a moment, make yourself comfortable. All right, so we're going to meditate on today's lesson, 346. Just making yourself comfortable. Sitting in a chair, sit with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. Cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Air flows in through the nostrils, nice deep, full exhale, inhale. Clench the sphincter muscle. It's a muscle used to contract the flow of urine, squeeze the last drops out. Pause at the top of the inhale, take another sip of air in. So just scan your mind, noticing any thoughts going on, any related emotions, maybe there's some body sensations. Just observe all of that. Whatever is going on that is at all disturbing, disturbs your seeming peace of perfect love, because causes. Scan your mind and remind yourself today's idea that today, peace of God or the peace of perfect love envelops me. And I forget everything. Except its love. Say, peace of perfect love envelops me and I forget everything except its love. Just blow out any negative thought, emotion, body sensation. Just letting it go, blowing it out, the breeze of your breath. It's going, gone out of your body, your mind, your energy system. Blow it all out, let it all go. And in this moment, just forget everything except perfect love. And just even for a few brief moments. So just breathing in again. Inhaling this perfect love that envelops you, feel it enveloping you, every pore, every cell of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Feeling the peace of perfect love. Today, the peace of perfect love envelops me and I forget everything except its love. Now listen to these words. I'm just going to teach you the words in the body of the lesson. So breathe in as I read the sentence. Stomach rising, clench your sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. So breathing in, say, my source, I wake up today with shifts in my perception, miracles or shifts in my perception, correcting my perception of everything. Exhales, repeat those words. So just repeat the words after me. It's affirmations of the truth. Breathing in again. And so begins the day I share with you as I share eternity. So begins the day I share with you as I share eternity before. Breathing in again. Deep inhale. Breathing in again. Deep full inhale breath. Breathe a light, pure formless awareness, perfect love into every pore and every cell, the muscle of your body, every part of your mind, and every fiber of your being. So begins the day I share with you as I share eternity, for I have transcended time. And breathing in again. Do not seek the things of time, so I will not perceive them. So I've transcended time today. I do not seek the things of time, so I will not perceive them. Exhale the truth of that. Breathing in again. What I seek today transcends all laws of time, things perceived in time. Choose to forget everything except your love. So I choose to forget everything except your love right now. Breathing in again. Choose to live in you and know no laws except your law of love. So choose to live in you, embrace this loving awareness. Choose to live in you and know no laws except your law of love. Exhale on the truth of that. Sink into it, into it. But also choose, find the peace that you give your extension. And also choose to find the peace which you give your extension. Forgetting all the foolish toys I've made. Give you extension for getting peace, for getting all the foolish toys I've made. So I perceive your magnificence in my own. Exhale. Staying connected. When the evening comes today, says Yeshua, which it's upon us, just breathe in this evening. Invitation to your evening sadhana practice. So when the evening comes today, I will remember nothing. So I'll remember nothing but the peace of perfect love. As in that love's and being breathed in, every pore, every cell. I'll remember nothing but the peace of perfect love. Breathe in that intention, embrace. When I forget everything except pure formless awareness of perfect love, I will learn that peace is mine today. When I forget everything except pure formless awareness of perfect love, I'll learn that peace is mine today when I forget everything else. Forget the ego, forget this world, forget this course. I'll learn that peace is mine today, no matter what seems to. And just exhale. Just sink inwards. Let go, you go deeper, deeper to the calm, still, silent state of mind we call Christ or your true self, pure formless awareness. So just sinking inwards, deeper and deeper with each breath. Observe the breath. Scan your whole mind, your body, your energy system. Just be aware of that. And continue to breathe, just sink inwards, deeper and deeper. Any thoughts come in to semi distract this deep peace? Observe them casually. Remind yourself the key idea of today's lesson, that today the peace of perfect love envelops me. So feel that as you breathe in, it envelops you, it surrounds you. It's everywhere in truth. Just show awareness of it. Let it go, blow it out. And sink inwards, going inwards to the peace of perfect love. Just really enjoy that. Enjoy the feeling of being enveloped in it full. Another minute or two of deep contemplative silence. So just gently coming back and bring your awareness into the body and the breath, senses in the world. Slipped away from those techniques to the meditation. It's okay, you just bring them back. So, count to 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air into the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. Smile, scan your mind. So at the top of the inhale, scan your mind again. Notice any thoughts, emotions, related body sensations going on, particularly anything that feels at all negative, limiting, contracted, or constricted. And then remind yourself of today's key idea that peace of perfect love envelops me and I forget everything except its love. Just exhale, let go of any thoughts and emotions that don't serve you. So notice you exhale, air flowing out, chest and stomach sucked back in. Energy subsides back down from the front channel of your body, down the front channel of your body into your lower stomach and your groin. On the count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling and touching with your hands. Maybe it's subtle flow of air on your skin. You breathe in that air, noticing smell in your nose. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. There's that, and there's what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Noticing all these things from this very still, calm, and surrendered state of mind without illusions, state of mind showing the truth is true. Anchor that state in. Breathing in the light, love, every pore, every cell, every muscle. Wow. Just let it go. Whatever seems to disturb you, just one more, let it go. You exhale it all out. On the count of 3, open your eyes. So just take a minute to look around, observing those objects in the room around you in this very calm, detached way. Don't attach any meaning, no judgments. You need to see how they do it. It's just non-judgmental awareness and perception. So stay anchored in this connected state the rest of the evening on into the week, rest of the week. And use the idea just to top you up if you need to do that before bed. Listen to one of the longer meditations I've sent you. Okay, so that's brings us to the end of the meditation and of tonight's session. So thank you, John, for joining. So thanks to Elaine, she's gone. And we'll hopefully see you again tomorrow.
Well, thank you, Jono.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
So if you feel that urge, then just reach out to me. We can schedule a one-on-one if you think that's necessary.
Yeah. I've just been rereading the first 2 chapters of the text, actually, and I've got a bunch of questions on those.
Okay.
So
when would you like next week?
Yeah, probably. Let me be in touch. I haven't quite finished it yet, so let me just assemble what I've got, and then I'll be in.
All right.
So you're not coming back to the UK tomorrow. You're going to come at some stage.
Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna let me just stop the recording actually.